Okay, so episode 21 of my little series entitled The ExFiles, where I basically talk about every single guy that I had a crush on or dated or whatever since the beginning of time, or since I was born. Yeah. And before anyone says anything, yes, I can count. The last video that it was uploaded was that you can see is episode 19. However, there is a 20th episode. However, for the time being, it's put on private because I still go to school with the guy. So just, yeah. But if you really want to see episode 20, just email me or something and let me know, and I will add you to the list because I really want to avoid a scandal or getting in trouble or something. So this is episode 21. This is episode 21, and it's about a guy called Bill. Bill's not his real name. I used a different name, as far as you know. And this guy's a really, really private person, and I will get into all of that in this episode, maybe. But the thing is, since I'm starting to realize that my ExFile videos are very, very long, this one I'm gonna just split up into 3 parts, so it's not one huge video, but rather 3 smaller videos. I don't really know what I'm doing, so I'm trying new things, and this is one of the things that I'm trying. So, let's get into the story of Bill. So, I just kind of wanted to make a note that this whole fiasco that happened between Bill and I, it was going on pretty much at the same time that things were going on between me and the guy in episode 20, the one that is private that you need to message me if you actually really want to see that one. So this is how I met Bill, and it's my brother's fault. So I have an older brother. His name is Sandiego. He is a really good friend of mine. But like the day that I met him, like we were just, talking, and then I found out that he lived in the same dorm as I did. So when I had some downtime, I looked for him in the dorm building on the guy's side. And Sandiego was not in his room, but his roommate was, and his roommate was Bill. Had I known what would have happened, I think it's funny to think that, like, had I shown up at Sandiego's dorm, like, 10 or 20 minutes afterwards, like, this whole thing with Bill might not have happened. But, yeah, that's how I met Bill. I walked in looking for Sandiego, and he wasn't there, so then I just kind of was like, oh, hi, my name is Kim, and he introduced himself as Bill. He was sitting down in his chair playing video games, and this is kind of significant because he is a huge avid gamer. So I wanted to leave a note for Sandiego, and I asked Bill to let me borrow a pencil. Oh, it just starts off well, but then it just goes terribly wrong. So that's how I met Bill. And this is the type of person that Bill was. Bill is a very shy and introverted person, and I'm looking at my notes, so I'm looking down a lot. Bill is a very quiet and shy, introverted person. He was a couple years older than me. I forgot how many, but he was a transfer student because a lot of people go to community college before they go to Biola, which is reasonable. Let's see. I remember, throughout our friendship, or whatever you want to call it, I would always try to get him to be more social, but that didn't really work sometimes, because he was he kept to himself a lot, and I try to pull it out of him to, hey, let's go hang out, and, do stuff, and be with other people, but he really was not into it. Another thing that I remember from him, he really liked the show Good Eats because, it taught you how to cook, and it was very scientific, and he was a very scientific person, if that makes any sense. He liked to cook. He couldn't really dress, which, Okay, I know that I don't really dress the greatest all the time, but I'd like to think that I have a very good sense of style. Yeah, he did not know how to dress. And I remember one time, like, literally, he walked around campus in this bright neon orange shirt with green Mountain Dew pajama pants. Like, who does that? That is, no. You don't do that. Just no. But anyways, that was disgusting, sorry. He didn't want to travel because he was scared of getting, like, some weird disease if he left the country, which, like, honestly, to me, that makes no sense whatsoever because I like traveling and I'm just used to it because I traveled so much as a kid. I travel a lot now. So, like, when someone says, yeah, I don't like traveling, it's, like, kind of, like, a huge turnoff for me because it's, like, you don't want to leave the country just for, like, a week or two. He really wanted to adopt kids, which I thought was kind of cool. But all he ever ate in the campus cafeteria was Coke and pizza that he would put salt on. I don't know why that bothered me too. It's just like, really? You're not gonna eat anything else? Like, he literally, like, when it came to the cafeteria, he, like, seriously, that's all he ate. Like, he would cook his own food sometimes, but, like... So, anyways, yeah, so, yeah. More notes. He was super nerdy and he was a gamer. So we ended up being friends and hanging out a lot. And I remember one time, because he was, like, super into Dungeons and Dragons, and I've always wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons. But then, when I played it, I was bored. Like, okay, trying to figure out your character is fun, but then, like, the actual gameplay is boring. Like, I'm sorry, I don't get it. Like, I always thought Dungeons and Dragons was, like, this cool thing that I could get into. I tried, but I couldn't. I'm sorry if you like Dungeons and Dragons, but I just couldn't do it. So, yeah. And, okay, honestly, there kind of, like, a small reason why I hung out with Bill was because I had a thing for his friend Mike, but that crush is, like, so insignificant that it doesn't really deserve an episode, I guess you can say. But yeah, anyways, I remember one night he and I were hanging out and we talked until 2 in the morning and he bought me jerky. I remember that. And and like me, being the naive little 18-year-old girl at that time, like, I thought that, like, you know, we spent hours talking and he bought me jerky. Oh my god, I think we're gonna get married. And I remember telling this, like, I think about it now, but I laugh. I told that to Megan, like, oh, I might end up marrying Bill. And Megan just, like, was like, oh, that's nice. But probably in her head, what was going on was like, you idiot. No, just stop talking. Which is typically how I feel about many people in relationships today. Moving on to the next page. More things I remember. Wow. So when I would walk over, okay, so another thing I remember was, like, in the business building is where I had Bible class, and and the way that I went into the building was, like, there was, like, this little lobby, and I would pass this lobby pass this lobby on my way to class, and every single day he was on the couch with his computer playing, I think it was League. But he did that every single day, and then, like, I thought that was interesting. I thought that he was doing that because, you know, he was waiting for his class to start, but then later on down the line, he told me the reason why he did that was, like, to hang out with me or to see me, and that he felt creepy. And I'm starting to realize that the difference between creepy and sweet is whether or not you like the person. So, like, because I didn't really like Bill, yeah, it's kind of creepy, but yeah, just... Okay, so, story time. Now we're getting to a story. So, at Biola, there's this thing called GYRAD. It stands for Get Your Roommate a Date, and basically what goes on is that your roommate finds someone to go on this planned group activity together. It's called Get Your Roommate a Date. However, I do not consider GYRADs a date. I just consider it like a group hangout, honestly. And people really need to be clear with their intentions when it comes to a guy rad. Just saying, if anyone here from Viola is watching this, a guy rad is not a date. I'm sorry. It is not. It is a group hangout, and some people use it to friend zone you. So I was just, you know, the guy rad that my floor planned out was to go to a drive-in theater, and I was excited because I've never gone to one. However, I was a little sad because I didn't have anyone to go with. Like Megan, she tried asking people, but everyone said no. So one day I was hanging out in Bill's room, also kind of waiting for San Diego to show up. And I just kind of mentioned it to Bill, and Bill was just like, well, I can go with you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's very nice. So, yeah, he took me and Megan to the 99-cent store beforehand because, like, I really wanted candy. And he bought, like, he went to, like, Costco or Sam's Club, and he got, like, the bulk thing of red vines, and I really like red vines, so that was nice of him. So we went to the place, and he drove, and San Diego later told me that he thought it was a real date. And I kind of think that that's part of the reason why everything blew up the way that it did, which will probably be in the next episode. So, moving on. I did meet his parents a couple times, and they did seem to like me. His mom has the same name as me, as far as you know. And, she was really sweet, and apparently I reminded him of his mother. So, yeah. Okay, so, like, so for this next little story, I don't exactly remember when it happened, but it did happen. We were just kind of sitting, and he told me he liked me or something. Like, we were sitting, just him and I, and we were hanging out, which we did often. We just, like, sat together, hung out together. Alone, and we were just sitting down, and he told me that he really liked me or something like that, and I just kind of said, like, but I'm just a fucked up little girl. And then he said something along the lines of, but that's not love, Kimmy, and then he started crying. So yeah, if I haven't made it clear already, I'm pretty sure that, like, okay, I'm pretty much the bad guy in this story, honestly. I'll get to that later. But anyways, okay, so one night gosh, another story that is the truth, so I will say it. I remember that during Christmas break, I went to a family Christmas party, and I got really drunk, and I called him 8 times, and I left him voice messages, and it wasn't anything like explicit or sexual or anything. It was me saying, like, why don't you pick up your phone, and you're really lame for not picking up your phone, you should pick up the phone to talk to me. I called him 8 different times, and I left him 8 different messages like that, and never doing that again. And I remember, like, the next day I was like, hey, so I called you 8 times last night, and I left a whole bunch of voice messages. Can you do me a favor and not listen to them? And I wasn't in my right mind, and it would be better if you didn't listen to them. So, much to my dismay, he actually ended up listening to those 8 voice messages I left him, and he was like, oh, but you sounded so nice. Apparently, I'm super nice when I'm drunk. It was just... That story just deserves its own episode, because it ended up with me throwing up and ruining Christmas for my dad and my grandma. So, yeah, there was that story. Okay, so, big picture. First semester, we were okay. Like, I liked him for a very, very small while, but then, like, I kind of got over it. He wasn't for me, but I would still flirt with him, and, I continued to hang out with him, and, yeah, we were friends, and I flirted with him, and he gave me the attention that I wanted, and, I did enjoy that attention quite a bit, and I wrote a sentence here that says, I guess I used him for the attention, which honestly I'm not really going to dispute because I was young and I didn't really know any better at the time. So yeah, so first semester we were fine. I don't really think we talked during during Christmas break though, minus me drunk dialing him. The timeline is a little fuzzy for me because it happened 2 years ago at this point. Happened my freshman year at college. But second semester is when shit got real. And it says shit got real here in my notebook, as you can see. So, okay, so second semester, I didn't see him the first couple days of that semester, after the second semester of my freshman year, and I thought that was kind of weird, and I would text him and be like, hey, where are you? Like, I want to say hi, I miss you, blah, blah, blah. And then, like, out of nowhere, he texts me, and he's like, hi, I have to go settle, like, an appeal or something like that, and I thought that was kind of interesting. So then what turned out what happened was he had to go to an interview thing, and he had to appeal to Biola because his grades were so bad that he almost got kicked out. And yeah, he was on the brink of getting kicked out because his grades were bad. But why were his grades bad? Because he stayed in his room and gamed all day. And my brother can attest to this because he said that Bill would wake him up like really early in the morning because he was like on his computer playing video games. Like, no. How lazy is that? Like, your parents are paying a lot of money for you to go to this school and you're just going to waste it all by playing video games. Like, I have no time for people like that. I have no patience for people like that. I have no sympathy for people like that. But apparently, freshman year of college, I did. So, yeah. So he won his appeal, I guess, and he was granted permission to come back to Biola. And they weren't going to kick him out. And then, like, it was kind of nice because him and I were just kind of talking, and I was like, oh, I'm so glad that you're coming back, and blah, blah, blah. And he looked at me, and he's like, well, you were no small part in my decision to return. Which meant you were part of the reason why I came back, which I thought was really nice of him. So, oh gosh. I realize that I'm making him sound like a really, really nice guy, and in a part he is, but when I get deeper into the story, moving on Valentine's Day, I received, so on Valentine's Day of that year, at school, whenever you receive a package in the mail, they send you an email, and I got this email saying that, oh, hey, you got a box from us. Congrats. And I went to the mail house, I think, like, the day after or something, and then I got a box of C's candy. And turns out that he sent me a pound of C's candy. And, the note attached, I don't even think he wrote anything. If anything, it either said Happy Valentine's Day or From Bill. Like, that's probably what happened. But, yeah, as a thank you, I took him to IHOP because that's honestly my personality. I wasn't trying to flirt with him or anything like that. Also, at the same time, I felt kind of weird, like, why is he giving me a box of... it's nice, but why is he giving me a box of chocolate? And I wanted to, even the score or, take back power or balance out the power, whatever weird thing I said when I was a freshman. I wanted it to make it even by doing something nice for him because that is my personality. If you do something nice for me, then I'm going to do something nice for you. All of my friends can attest to this. So, as my thank you, I took him to IHOP. Yeah, looking back, I could see why everything got confusing and why things blew up like they did. One thing that really did bother me though, freshman year, was that he tried to figure me out, and I used to think that, I wanted someone to do that, but he did it in a very odd way. He paid, he really wanted to see what my strengths were, so he paid X amount of money for me to take this test online, and it came with a book, but he wanted to find out what my strengths were. And I thought that I don't really know how I feel about tests like that. Like I mean, I had to take them when I got into school, but I don't really trust them because I don't really think that a test can define a person. It can kind of guide someone, but it doesn't define you. But he really wanted me to take this Strength Finders test. I did. I can't even remember all of my strengths. I think like woo was definitely one. I think the other one was like that I got was like gift giving, but there's 5 of them. But yeah, so he made me take that test, and he paid for it. And he would kind of make small comments, like, if I were to do something, he would be like, oh, okay, well, it's because your strength is this. And that doesn't really make me feel good. I don't like it when people do that. But I do remember this one comment I remember the most out of anything. I remember, because I am a huggy person, and I go up and I hug a lot of people, because, like, that's how I show my affection. Like, I'm very touchy. I hug you. I give you stuff. I compliment you. I remember, like, you know, I would hug him a lot. And I was, like, I've come to realize that I was, like, the only person he would ever hug. But, like, I would hug him. And then I ran off to, like, we were hanging out, walking back to our dorm. And then there was this other guy who I knew. And I went up to him and I gave him a hug. And I was like, oh, it's so good to see you, and blah, blah, blah. And the comment he made was like, oh, so you hug everyone. And, like, the tone of his voice was kind of, like, disappointing, and, like, was, like, of disappointment and kind of condescending at the same time. So, yeah. But this will be significant for the next episode, this next little story. Is that I remember when we came back from winter break and we started up the second semester, I made a joke with him and I said, yeah, my parents have decided that I'm going to get an arranged marriage and I'm going to marry someone in Ecuador. I was joking. That is how I joke. Just, if you know me, I make jokes like that quite often. So I made the joke of, like, yeah, I'm getting an arranged marriage in Ecuador. And then, like, I was like, okay, bye. And so, you know, we were hanging out. And then a week later, he brought it up again. He was like, oh, yeah, like, yeah, well, I brought, like, we were talking about flowers or something. He's like, yeah, well, you're going to get flowers all the time now. And I'm, like, looking at him. I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, your parent, you know, the arranged marriage. And I was like, wait, what? What arranged marriage? And I looked at him and I was like, wait, the thing I told you about a week ago? Bill, that was a joke. And then the look on his face, like, it looked like he got egg on his face. And I laughed because, like, I like making jokes. And I thought he knew it was a joke, but he thought it was real. Like, who seriously does arranged marriages anymore? Like, I know that there's, like, a small percentage, but not the majority. So yeah, he looked really embarrassed. And I'm going to stop it there. That concludes episode 21, part 1 of Bill. And I have 2 more episodes to share with you guys. Just hold on with me for this entire thing because shit gets real. And I have a very big learning moment for myself. So thank you for watching part 1 and hold on for the next 2 parts. Bye, guys!